Today I'm going to be taking a quick look at Void Linux, their LXQt desktop edition. Let's get started. For those of you that are not familiar with Void Linux, let's discuss what Void Linux is. So over at distrowatch.com is where we get the release announcement for Void. This is Void 2018-1111. Is, I guess, the version number, although Void Linux is a rolling release distro very much like Arch, so there's no real versions that are released. It is just basically a snapshot. It's a rolling release, but to prevent people from having to install from old ISOs, just like Arch, Void, a few times a year should release some snapshots. This snapshot was just released November 11th, 2018, 2018-1111. The blurb from DistroWatch here reads, Void is an independently developed rolling release Linux distribution with a number of interesting specifics, such as its own package management system, which they call XBPS, their native init system, which is Runit, the integration of LibreSSL instead of OpenSSL, and support for several popular ARM-based devices. They do have ISOs, ARM-based ISOs, for those that want to play around with that sort of thing. The country of origin for Void is Spain. Void was one of the distros I was most interested in as far as tracking development at the beginning of 2018. I told you guys I was really interested in seeing what 2018 brought us, specifically with these independent distros like Void and Solus. Both Void and Solus lost their main developers during 2018. The Void main dev dropped off the face of the planet. They don't know where he's at, whether he's alive or dead, and this happened really early in 2018, so it's been almost the entire year that they haven't had the main dev at all at Void, but the distribution keeps going. Solus, of course, lost its main dev, but they appear to still be going as well. The Void Linux website is voidlinux.org. I think the last time I looked at Void Linux, they had a different URL for their website. I think they were using voidlinux.eu, I think. But now it's voidlinux.org. Some reading a little bit about Void from the website. They mention it's not a fork. It's an independent distro, yada, yada, yada. Everything we just read over at distrowatch.com. So I'm going to download their LXQt edition. If I go back to the DistroWatch release announcement, they have links to a Cinnamon ISO, an Enlightenment ISO, LXDE, LXQt, Mate, and XFCE. So several different ISOs to choose from. I just chose LXQt because why not? So I'm going to install this and take a look at this inside VirtualBox today. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and boot into Void Linux. So first of all, let me give you the ISO size for the LXQt edition, which I downloaded. Give me just a second. The size is 652 megabytes for the LXQt edition, so small ISO, which I like. I like keeping things small and light when possible. The boot menu here, we have the option of booting, I guess, directly into the live environment, booting off a RAM, booting first hard drive, bound by the BIOS. I'm just going to go ahead and boot directly into the live desktop environment. From there, we should be able to find the installer. This may take a second. Usually takes a minute or two to boot off a live image. Me booting off the ISO. You guys, if you were doing this on physical hardware, this is the same as booting off a live USB stick or a live DVD. And we wait. We've got the cursor, and there is the background. Also, the VirtualBox guest editions are working at least on the live ISO, so let's see if I can find an installer. I think I've had this problem before with Void Linux. Is their installer, I believe it's a terminal-based installer, and you're really not going to find it as far as in a menu system. I think you just need to know that you need to open a terminal to run the installer, and I believe it is Void. Is it installer or Void install? I think it's Void installer, which must be run as root. So does sudo work, or do we need to log in as su? So sudo space void dash installer. Crazy that I remembered that. I haven't actually done anything with Void, and probably about 9 or 10 months, but luckily I remembered the name of the installer. You guys, if you forget, It's on the website. There is an installation guide. I never read those things. I just wing it. So enter the Void. Welcome to Void Linux installation, a simple and minimal Linux distro made from scratch and built from the source package tree available for XBPS, which is their package manager. That's nice. Let me hit OK. Set the system keyboard. Am I using a Dvorak keyboard? No, I'm not. I'm just using a standard US keyboard. Let me get down to the bottom. US. Alright, network. Set up the network. I'm on a wired connection. Do you want to use DHCP? Yes, I do. Alright, network is working properly. Source. Set source installation. So I'm guessing this is going to look for the image we're installing from, the ISO. So local is what I'm doing. So host name. Set the host name. I'm going to call this machine, I don't know, DT-VBox. Locale. Let's set the locale. Alright, so I am somewhere in here. I believe it's English US. If I can find it. Yep, English US. Alright, time zone. Let's set the time zone. I'm going to be America/Chicago. I'm going to have to search through this list, page down a few times. America, Chicago. That's the central time zone in the US. I'm not actually in Chicago, but I am in that time zone. We need to set up the root password, so enter a root password. So we need to give a strong and complicated password for the root password. Then we need to confirm that password. Alright, user account. Set the primary username and password. The primary username is going to be my name, DT. We need to create a username for DT, so that was the full name of DT. Username for DT. We need to create a password for DT. So a strong and complicated password, of course, for the DT user. Alright. Select group membership for login for DT. So this is all the groups that the user we just created needs to belong to. The wheel group is the important one because that gives us pseudo privileges. It looks like they've already selected us to be a member of the wheel group, the floppy group, audio, video. Yeah, those are all important. CD-ROM, optical. These are usually what you would add yourself to. So everything looks good here. Down the road, if I was installing this on physical hardware, if I installed something like VirtualBox, I would have to make sure the DT user was part of the VBox users group. But right now, we're good. Bootloader. Set disk to install bootloader. So I only have one device here, /dev/SDA, which is a 20 gig hard drive I gave in this virtual machine. So do we want to use a graphical terminal for bootloader? By default, it's selecting yes, so I'm going to go with that. Partition. Let's partition the disk. /dev/SDA is, of course, the only device. So CF disk will be executed in disk/dev/SDA. Alright, so CF disk, I'm a little familiar with how this works. I'm going to do the DOS label. I'm not going to create a swap. Let's just do one big partition. Partition size, we'll give it the whole 20 gigs. Make it primary. I think that's all I really needed to do. Let's see. We need to make it bootable. You got to remember that. And write. Don't use CF disk that much. You got to remember how this works. And then write the partition table to disk. You have to type the full word yes. Might be a little confusing for folks that are not familiar with doing this kind of partition stuff in a tool like CF disk. All right, now we already did the write. We just need to quit. All right, now we need to start the installation. Error, the mount point for the root file system has not yet been configured, so I must have did something wrong. Let's go back to CF disk. Alright, looks like I skipped a step. So after the partition, which was what CF disk was doing, the partitioning of the disk, I went to install. We need to first go to file systems. File systems configures the file systems and mount point. So /dev/SDA1, the first partition. We need to set this to whatever file system we want to do. I'm going to do extend4. You guys may want to choose something else like ButterFS or XFS, two popular alternatives to extend4. Alright, the mount point, please specify the mount point for /dev/SDA1. It needs to be root. So Right, do you want to create a new file system on /dev/sda1? So just confirming that yes, this is what we want to do. All right, we are done. Now the install should work. Start installation with saved settings. All right, the following operations will be executed. So it's about to format the drive right to the disk. Just gonna go with it. This portion of the install, I'm not sure. I haven't done a Void Linux install in a number of months, but I can't imagine this is going to take longer than about 10 minutes or so. I'm going to pause the video. I'll be back once the installation has completed. And the installation has completed. That portion of the install there at the end where it installs the system was like 2 minutes. That was very quick. So let's see how this goes. I'm going to go ahead and choose yes and reboot the machine. All right. I'll be back once it reboots. All right, and looks like it installed properly. There was our grub menu. Boot up time. Let's check this out, see how long it takes us to get to our login manager. We wait a few seconds. All right, and we are at the login manager. By the way, the VirtualBox guest editions are working out of the box. Of course, this was using the latest kernel 4.18. Let me go ahead and enter my password. And this should log us into the LXQt desktop environment. Very nice. Yeah, the installation is very straightforward. It is, of course, you launch it in the terminal, but it's not command line install. It's an ncurses installer, very similar like to the older Debian installers many of you are used to. So not a scary install. Probably the most not user-friendly part of that is partitioning the drive yourself with something like CF disk, but you should be able to handle that. If you can't, look at the, I'm sure Void has an install guide. If you want to, pull up the Arch install guide on how to partition a drive. Anyway, I'm going to take a look at what is installed by default here in Void LXQt just briefly. Shouldn't be much to look at. This was a very, very small ISO, 600 megs and some change. So we're of course using the PCMan FM file manager with apparently no icons set to speak of. So we don't have any icons installed on this system apparently. This is PCMan FM-Qt version 0.13. So this is the Qt version of PCMan FM, which is my favorite light minimal file manager. And that's it under accessories, nothing else. Graphics, we have our image viewer, which is LXimage. We have our screenshot utility. Under internet, we have Falcon. That's an interesting choice. Now Falcon is a Qt app, so that's why they included it. I don't think most people would want to use Falcon as their default browser. Falcon version 3.0.1. I think most people are going to end up installing Chrome or Firefox. Certainly that's what I would do, but I can understand why they included Falcon on the ISO. It is a Qt app. They want to stick to all Qt apps here. And there's nothing else under internet. So basically, so far, all you've got is you got your file manager and a web browser, screenshot utility. Oh, and of course, you have to have a terminal, the Qt terminal. And that's the About Qt. I want the About the Qt terminal. Qt terminal 0.9.0, a lightweight multi-platform terminal emulator. While we're here, just to show you what kernel we're using, we are in fact using 4.18.17. So pretty recent kernel. Is HTOP installed? It is not. We may get around to installing HTOP here in a minute. Let's go ahead, finish going through the very few programs. That's it. That's all the programs that are installed. The rest of it is the LXQt preference settings. So the stuff that's baked into LXQt, that's all here, such as the configuration center. But as far as other apps, you had a terminal, a file manager, and a web browser. That's basically it, which is kind of nice for somebody like me, because I like to install, you know, all my own programs, my own suite of applications, rather than being fed what, you know, a distro developer thinks I should be using. So me, I actually like that it's such a minimal distro with virtually no applications installed by default. That's a positive in my book. So I'm going to pull a terminal back up. So let me go back to System Tools. I'm going to get the Qt terminal back out. And you know what, let me zoom in so you guys can see everything I do here. The Qt terminal really is good about zooming in and out. Has a nice feature for zooming. Alright, so XBPS is the package manager in Void Linux. Now, you have to be root to use XBPS, so I'm not sure if sudo is installed or not. So sudo xbps -install is the command, and then the name of a package. Let's see if we can install htop. Okay, enter the root password, unable to locate htop. Maybe we need to synchronize the repos. We haven't done that yet, so sudo space xbps-install space capital S lowercase u. Very similar to some of the flags you give Pac-Man in Arch. And it is updating the repos. Actually, it's going to do a full system upgrade. Wow, even though this is a pretty recent ISO, there's quite a bit of packages that could be updated. Do I want to continue? No. Let me decline that. Can I now, though, install htop? Yes, htop can now be installed. So that is how you use XBPS to install software, XBPS-install. It's also how you sync the repos and update your system with capital S lowercase u. So now that I have htop installed anyway, I wanted to take a look at system resource usage here on Void LXQt. CPU usage is next to nothing, as you would expect. We're not doing anything, so really the CPU shouldn't be doing anything. RAM usage. Now, LXQt is a full desktop environment, right? 226 megs of RAM of the 4 gigs of RAM I gave this VM. That is very light for a full desktop environment. 226 megs of RAM are being used right now. Now, to be fair, the LXQt version of Void is basically, there's nothing installed. There's no extra programs installed. There's nothing running in a sys-tray or anything. There's no extra niceties installed with Void Linux. So as you install packages and you get more background processes running and more stuff running in your system tray and the notification tray and all that, you know, that RAM is going to tick up a little bit. It'll get, 300 megs, maybe a little closer to 400 megs if you start really getting a little heavier. But still, LXQt is a very, very lightweight desktop environment. Oftentimes when I do these first looks at distro releases, I focus on the things that most users would initially grab a hold of, like themes, wallpaper, artwork, icon sets, and that sort of thing. And I can go ahead and tell you, I really don't have anything to look at here. If I go to desktop preferences, so right click on the desktop, go to desktop preferences, wallpaper image files, it looks like they're located in user share LXQt themes. So that's the folder I need to navigate to. So user share LXQt themes, and then you have 6 themes, I guess, to choose from wallpapers. By the way, if I go to the LXQt configuration center, which is kind of like your control panel, I go to LXQt settings and then appearance, and I go to LXQt theme, you will also see the LXQt theme, which is the panel theme. Also is ambience, dark, frost, KDE plasma, light, system. Same thing here, ambience, dark, frost, KDE plasma, light, system. So if I want to do the ambience theme, for example, it changes to the ambience theme, the old ambience theme from Ubuntu. If I want to go to the ambience wallpaper, I think they have one in here. Yeah, butterfly-Kenneth. That would change my wallpaper, I'm assuming, to something that is more appropriate for ambience. So that is kind of neat. I wish there was a little easier way to change this, something a little more automatic than me having to navigate to the folders. So if I wanted to do something with the dark panel theme, go to the dark folder here in the wallpaper selection. And is that the one they want to go with? That's not bad. Anyway, my favorite LXQt panel theme, though, is the KDE Plasma one. It's just gorgeous in my view, although it looks kind of plain. Oh wow, that one actually changed wallpapers, so I didn't have to change it myself. Did you see that? Let's see if the next one does that. It does. It changes it automatically. Well, let me kill that then. Because I was wondering why I had to go to the trouble of changing the wallpaper. Why doesn't it just change it by itself? But it looks like it does. It doesn't with dark, though. Okay, so there are a couple of them I have to manually change. Does ambience change by itself? You know what it is? I think they all do change on their own. It's just, it takes it a minute. Maybe some of these images are kind of big. The ambience one, yeah, see, it finally changes. It takes like a good 15, 20 seconds, but it finally changes. All right. Well, my favorite theme, I think, was the KDE Plasma one. I don't know. How about the light theme? You know what? The light theme is really nice, too. Anyway, there are no icons installed on this system. There are no icons in the menus. Well, actually, there are a few in the menu. Well, one, LX Image, I guess, and Falcon. HTOP, which I installed. HTOP has its own icon, and it comes with. There's no real icon themes. This would take some work for me to make it look good. I need to install some different theme options and some icon sets. And that is it for my very quick look of Void Linux, their latest snapshot here. And this is their LXQt desktop edition. What do I think of it? I think it's great. I think it's great for a small niche of Linux desktop users out there. If you love something very light and minimal, as far as their LXQt edition anyway, comes with almost no software installed. I mean, other than the LXQt desktop environment and the stuff that ships with that, they shipped a browser, a terminal, and a file manager, and that's basically all you got. There's, you know, they didn't even ship an icon set with this thing, so you did have a handful of LXQt themes to choose from and a couple of wallpapers. But this is very much, you're going to have to build this thing yourself. Which for me, I like that. I like being able to pick and choose exactly what software I want on my system. The other thing that a distro like Void would appeal to is for those of you that are more Linux enthusiasts. Void does not use systemd, the systemd init system. Me, I don't mind systemd. I quite like systemd. But if you are one of those people that hate systemd, that you see it as a lot of bloat and that it tries to do too many things, that's usually the argument, is systemd is trying to become more than just an init system. Well, Void doesn't ship with systemd. Void uses its own init system that they call runit, and by all accounts, runit is a very good init system. I haven't played with runit in depth. I just know it works. Void Linux, every time I've ever installed it, it boots up. It boots up quickly too. It just works. I don't get into these init system arguments, but overall, I think Void Linux is a fantastic project, independent distro. I really hope that it continues, and I wish it a lot of success in the future, especially since the main dev that originally started the project is no longer with us. Who knows what happened to the guy? But I really hope Void Linux becomes more popular in the future, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for Void Linux. Before I go, this show was made possible by Ansem, Carlos, Chris, David, Leor, Rob, and Tony. These are the sponsors of the show. Without these guys, this wouldn't be possible. Also brought to you by all those fine ladies and gentlemen. You see all those names on the screen. They are the supporters of this channel. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed the content you see on this channel, please consider supporting DistroTube over on Patreon. Peace, guys.